Thank you. Thank you very much. First, I want to thank OGP UK for giving me the opportunity to be here today. Truly an honor. OGP UK is a well-respected company around the world. We're many years into our relationship, and I want to talk a little bit about ProLink first, and that is ProLink this year is celebrating their 40th year in business. So it was 40 years ago, right about now, that the first ProLink software was coming out. At that time, it was pretty centered on simply collecting data. And my goal today is to show you that we have a vision. In fact, we have pieces in place that someone might be able to use data that's collected in a variety of different ways in a much more enterprise-wide manner than ever before. So with that thought in mind, we're presenting what we believe to be a solution from beginning to end at all levels. Now, when I say all levels, I mean things like all levels within a particular organization, such as anywhere from the production area where data may be collected all the way up through the management area where that's evaluated and maybe decisions are made. We really do have tools for all those levels. Not only looking at it that way, but different levels within sizes of organizations. Quite honestly, our products can be used very, very easily and productively in companies that are maybe referred to as mom and pop shops, and also are currently today being used in Fortune 50 companies around the world. So we really do have a very flexible product, and I'm hoping to show you that. There is a saying that we're talking about a lot these days because QC Calc is the product that was introduced 40 years ago, and a lot of people know it. And some of you know that QC Calc is a data collection tool that you put on an OGP system or your CMM or other device. And a lot of people know that, and that's the end of the story for what they know. Today, I'm hoping to show you that there is quite a bit more to it, and that the capabilities for you to accomplish something by collecting data is far beyond what you may have thought in the past. So, I'm going to pose this as a question I'm going to ask several different times. Wouldn't it be nice? So, it's a simple question, but I'm going to pose it in a couple different perspectives or views, and then see what your thoughts are. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to monitor quality plant-wide and see an overall on one screen? Well, here's a product, here's a view that shows an overall of a plant layout. There's about there's 7 different lights there, and those are lit up in different cells or departments across the plant. Now, that's telling me the status of what's going on things being measured at those different locations in the plant. Well, you notice one of those lights is red. We all interpret red as something to be a warning or caution, or there's action needed. So what if we would have the ability to just view it by one cell and be able to see the 4 machines that are in that particular cell that was triggering that particular red light? And then what if we could simply say more information about that machine 2103 that had the red light on it, and see very quickly that characteristic bottom OD is running very high and it's out of spec in many cases. These are the thoughts that wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice to do that? And then, of course, you can drill even deeper and see that it's a trend and the part is running large. Wouldn't it be nice to easily monitor the performance of a group of machines, a specific group that you want to put together on one screen, so you didn't have to look at the whole shop floor, and be able to see something like this and label machines 201, 301, and 401, see their status, monitor them in real time, and if necessary, identify the problem. And when you identify the problem, be able to look at those problems across even critical parts across multiple departments. Different ways of grouping data together so it's convenient for you, the user, for you, the person who is responsible for making sure that there's as little red on your screen as possible. And you can do things like quickly identify the details of the problem, as I've done here, and clicking on, in the software, that point that's out of specification, showing me the measurements. It also has a little tag in it that you may see says history. And if I do that, I can click the history and see what the assignable cause was, what the corrective action was, what took place, if the part was remeasured, all of that kind of information is there. Wouldn't it be nice to easily monitor on a specific machine details about that machine? Here's one that at first is a little bit overwhelming. What are all these lights? Okay, well, this is allowing me to measure, or to view the critical characteristics by fixture on the machine. Many machining centers have tombstone type or multiple station fixtures. Sometimes that affects the performance of the machine. So in this one, I'm showing 6 columns, and they represent the 6 characteristics I'm following. And I'm showing 4 rows that represent that characteristic on each of those fixtures. So now I can quickly identify that the characteristic cross pin bottom on the right-hand column there, when it's running on fixture A2 right there, you see that it's got a problem because it's turning red. And wouldn't it be nice if I had this and I could just drill in and see the details and drill down to that one characteristic and get the details of what's happened there. Was it a broken tool? Was it a fixture problem? Whatever it might have been. The whole idea behind what I'm presenting is being able to quickly access information that might need attention from one level or another. And that's the idea behind this. Wouldn't it be nice to easily monitor something like a new product with a lot of complex characteristics? Be able to see a screen like this with a single dot for each characteristic and a color code to tell you if it's within specification or whether it's out of control or whether it's out of specification. And be able to say, well, what is that red dot and what does it mean? Okay? Or see full-size charts on those if you choose to, instead of just the dots. And to easily drill into the details and see what's happening there because the information has been recorded. Okay? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to walk up to a machine that has a QR code on the side of it, scan that with your mobile phone, and access the most recent data of what's come off of that machine? That's actually available today, and get critical information such as a real-time chart. Here we have one showing one characteristic that's having a trend, that's the purple color. Or critical characteristics in the case of statistics. Okay. Now, these are actual mobile phone screen captures. This is not a compilation, this is actually done. Okay? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to view your data in relation to a CAD image or CAD view and still be able to access the quality data that's associated with it? Multiple types of information. Maybe I need to see some summary of what's going on. Well, how about a screen that shows me counts by machine, good parts, bad parts, in sliding tiles of different color? Or meters that actually show me the CPK value and they're updated every 30 seconds or 60 seconds? So they can see that live in real time? Or accessibility to every report that's being produced in the plant and accessible in a list of reports. And you'll notice there's a history column on that particular display. And that history column will allow you to look at the last report that was done on that particular topic and the previous one. The previous one, as many back as you want to save in the database. It can also allow you to have tasks assigned. I'll explain this a little bit further, but the ability to have data automatically monitored and certain conditions when they take place cause a task to show up on this page that may be monitored in a management office or monitored in a supervisor's office. And that task might give an assignment to provide causes or report notes on, or information about what took place. All of those things are there. And imagine this is all on just one page that you're looking at. Wouldn't it be nice to review the most recent activity at all inspection stations? So maybe you've got a number of OGP machines in the lab, and maybe you have one or two on the floor. Maybe you've got some hand tool stations, and maybe another CMM somewhere. You may have a dozen or 24 locations where data is being measured, quality is being measured as it goes. Well, what if you had a screen like this? One screen you could pop up that would tell you every station and the machine type that was on. You notice that would say a station name, and it says it's a gauge station, or it's a Zeiss machine, or an OGP. Okay? And then tell you the part number that's currently, or the last part number that was measured, when it was last measured, and the total quantity of those measurements that have been made. This is really a metrology productivity report all in one place. Literally show you the status of every measuring station on one screen. Okay. You'll notice that the part number is blue. When you're actually running the software, you can click on that link, which is the part number, and drill into the details behind it as well, if you choose to. So wouldn't it be nice if many people could access all of this information? The people that need to access it could access it easily. And of course, one of the problems with software is, well, we've got to maintain the software, we've got to install it, we've got to monitor, we've got to do maintenance on those PCs and all of those things. Well, what if I told you that you could make it available anywhere with a product called QC Mobile? QC Mobile is a browser-based piece of software. You install it one time on the server, and all you need from that point is access to the server with a device, and I say that word very carefully because it's not just a PC. Any device, your PC, a tablet, your mobile phone, that can connect to the network and connect to that database can have access to everything that I just showed you. Okay? So, QC Mobile. Everything, every single one of the previous screens I've shown you is accessible on any device with a browser. So the ability to move data and get it in the right hands is very, very easy using this product. And oh, by the way, you can control who has access to what, because there's no installation of the software on the devices. There's multiple named user accounts. Now, what does that mean? Well, to use the software on a browser, you need to log in. And each user can be assigned specific information that they can or cannot see. So they're not overloaded with everything that's in the entire factory. They only see the things that relate to what's their area of responsibility, because each user that logs in has a different set of permissions. That make sense? Each user can also access the device with two different devices in a 24-hour period, meaning that if they sit down at their desk, at their laptop or whatever, and use QC Mobile on a browser, they can get access to it. But if they walk out on the shop floor with a tablet or with a mobile phone, they can also use that to access it. So they can have two different devices on that one sign-in, that one user login, and have access to it both ways. And if they swap out their PC tomorrow, at midnight it resets and says, okay, a different machine is available, so you can set it up. All of the software, as I alluded to and mentioned, is installed on the browser. So on the server, so that all you need is a browser to access it. This really simplifies the task from an IT perspective. And I'm sure you all deal with IT folks to one level or another, or the network and all of those kinds of things. I can tell you that we've got tremendously warm response from IT departments all over the world about this product because it requires so little maintenance to keep it updated and to keep it running. And all they have to worry about is your PC running and it's got a browser, and everything has a browser. So that's no problem. Okay, let's talk about another aspect. This was all kind of visualization and pop it up and get these views and this information as you need it, when you need it. What about reports? Everybody needs to print a report sometime, or send a report off to a customer, or take a report to a meeting, etc. What if they were all available either on demand or generated and distributed automatically? Well, the driving engine behind QC Mobile, which we'll talk about here as we go forward, has the ability to schedule any report, trigger off the data that you want it to, and produce it when you want it to, put it in a PDF, and automatically email it to as many people as you want. So if you need a report based on last week's failures, and you need it every Monday morning at 7 a.m. for a meeting, you simply schedule it to run at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, make the PDFs in everybody's inbox when they get to work. Nobody had to come in Saturday and do the report, or early Monday morning to do the report. And you might get something that looks like this. Part file summary, there's 6 different parts. It shows the total count of each part made, shows the out of controls, the out of spec, and in fact, in this case, we have 4 defective parts of that one part number were made. Okay? This is just a simple example of a report that's available. You can also do things like a statistics summary. Very easy. This is done by part number. And again, can be sent out easily to as many people as you want at whatever schedule that you want. Wouldn't it be nice to run SPC analysis? You're looking at CPKs and those kinds of statistical analysis. Reports like this, very easy. This was comparing the capability of a given part run by machine on 4 different machines, sorry. Here's one that's looking at characteristic comparison. Jumps out at you. The characteristic at the bottom of the page is probably trending low and is going to have a problem. Wouldn't it be nice to run mini-tab reports? How many here run mini-tab reports? She does? Everybody knows that mini-tab reports are pretty manual and time consuming. Copy and paste, enter, copy, paste, enter. Okay. Well, we've really changed that task completely because we'll do it for you with no manual entry. This is a screen of our product called SPC Office Buddy. You simply select the part you're interested in. You apply a filter such as last week or this lot number or however you want to group the data. That's the only thing you do manually. Select the part and filter it, and then you pick the mini-tab report that you need, whether it's capability study or a 6-pack or whatever it might be, from that menu, because this software is totally integrated with the mini-tab, and bang, it's done. Okay? A typical 20-minute mini-tab job takes less than 30 seconds, and that's not an exaggeration. I always tell the story. 2 years ago, I was in a conference room and did a demonstration of this product and showed a mini-tab report come out in 15 seconds, and the gentleman across the table leaned forward with his eyes wide and said, "You just eliminated my job." And he was threatened by it at that point. He really was. Fortunately, his boss was there, calmed him down, but he saw that it took hours and hours of the work he was doing and made it point and click and done. Very powerful product. So wouldn't it be nice to easily create customized reports required by customers? Here's a 5-piece first article, uses one of our templates. Here's an AS9102. And here's one that was created so it has an image on it that said call out the values. All easy to click, drop, go once you've created them. And then of course, when it comes to customized reports, that SPC Office Buddy that I just showed you doing the mini-tab job That'll also populate any custom Excel form that you have or your customer says you have to fill out and do it automatically. You don't have to ever key data into those forms again. Here's a report that shows data by cavity for an injection molding machine. It's automatically broken down and split out by cavity. And the standard reports, X-bar and R charts, histograms, and first article reports, all part of the standard things that can be done and scheduled and happen automatically. Okay, how is this all done? Well, I talked a minute ago about QC Mobile, which is this product that resides on the server and you access it through browsers to get the view of anything you want. Enterprise Report Scheduler is the engine behind all this automation. It allows you to schedule reports, do on-demand reporting if you want, but all of those images that I showed you in the first section, those viewing images that QC Mobile does, you design and build them there. They're all automated. In fact, they will even pick up new part numbers automatically when they come in and put them in the setups so that you will be allowed to just create what you want as far as reports and dashboards and other things, and they will automatically populate even when you add new parts. It's a very, very powerful tool. You also have in the ERS module the ability to run it as a service. A quick explanation. Software either runs as an application or a service. Applications are the things that you're all familiar with. You start it up and it pulls up the screen and you're looking at it, you're interacting with it. Service type programs run in the background. And basically, as long as the computer or the server is running and powered up, it's running. And so that's what there's available a version of this that will run on a server in the background so that as long as you have electricity in your plant, all of these automated scheduled things will continue to happen. Then there's a whole series of triggers that have been fairly recently added to ERS. And these triggers can do things like send emails when certain things happen. It can monitor a particular part or characteristic on a part. It can monitor the number of parts measured and trigger when there's not enough parts measured. A variety of other variables that can take place. Those emails can also be sent to become on-screen warnings. That QC Mobile homepage I showed you has the ability to have triggers pop up there. And that would be a task that's assigned, and the person is required to do that. They get follow-ups if they don't answer the questions. Also, stack lights. The lights that you see in the factories with the red, yellow, and green that tell you if the machine is running or in service or down. Well, there's also a series of those kind of lights that we can control with network cabling. And we can have those lights turn different colors depending on the quality or what's going on with regard to the quality, whether it's out of control, out of spec. Actually, we have one product that we work with. We have 13 different colors and even patterns of colors that you can develop. And we have now some customers who are putting those lights, believe it or not, in the office so that very quickly an engineer or a manager can get a view of, oh, there's a red light going on and it's because of quality. It's all done through the network. So very, very powerful stuff. As I mentioned, it can assign tasks, and those tasks can be sent out through the QC Mobile. Now here's the thing. I know that by now, someone has been sitting out here saying, well, this is wonderful, but it'll only work if you can get the data into the system, right? So what do I do where I can't get the data into the system? Well, the fact of the matter is, as I mentioned earlier, 40 years ago, we introduced a product called QC Calc. And we started out with the idea of QC Calc. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to collect data from any measuring machine, regardless of brand? Okay? And I can tell you, after 40 years, this product, QC Calc Real Time, which some of you have heard of, has the simplicity of picking the machine that you want to connect it to off a list. And by the way, that list is now 320 different machine choices. It's become a point of pride with us now. If we find out about a new machine we're not connected to, we hustle to do it. Because our position is, if it's out there, if it's measuring parts, and if it can put out data, we're going to interface to it. And that's what QC Calc Real-Time has become. The standard, and it's unmatched. And I'll stand by that. That's the thing with QC Calc that we bring to the table. Doesn't matter where the data is coming from, get it in the database. So what I mean by that is, all of those visualization and report things that we just saw, they can only be accomplished on a plant-wide or even a company-wide basis if you have one common database and one common way to report on it. This tool ensures that you do have all the data in a common database. By the way, that's a list of all the machines we support. Now, wouldn't it be nice also if you could easily collect data from any hand gauge, and regardless of brand again? Well, there's a product called Gauge Station that includes QC Gauge, which is QC Gauge in real-time, QC Calc real-time, together make the Gauge Station package. And it will easily connect to all kinds of micrometers, calipers, anything that you would have on a bench that's hand tools. Even fixture gauges with probes and indicators, and bore gauges, and even DROs on optical comparators and things of that nature. All of those things are available. And then the user interface is really one of its great strengths. Here is the main screen. An operator can simply click on a button, and if you want, it can have a picture of the part, or just the name of the part, or however you want to identify it. And you'll notice there's a lot of tabs across that screen. You have tabs for each department, tabs for each customer, tabs for each product category, however you want to break them down. Oh, and by the way, if you don't like buttons to push, you can also set it up so that if your traveler or whatever the paperwork is going through the work has a barcode on it, simply scan the barcode and it will launch the job automatically. Okay? And then it looks like this. And this is the main data entry screen for QC Gauge, our Gauge Station. Prompting you for entering information like lot number and operator. You see that the first measurement is in there. It's green in the background because it's in spec. It's now prompting for another measurement. In this case, it's showing the operator a picture of how to hold the gauge and orient the gauge to the part to do it properly. If you choose to, the operator can also have buttons on their screen that they can click and say, I want to see a video of how to do that. And you know, 20-some years ago when I first got into the data collection business, having a video was kind of a dream, right? You had to have a camera, had a video, you had to transfer it to the PC. But today, anybody's mobile phone can create a video in 30 seconds, and you just text it off to the PC, you know, and you got it. So these kind of things are, the technology that's out there in general can be so easily integrated with these things and provide easy to use, very, very simplified and streamlined processes for collecting data. And we all know that, especially in post-COVID, it's been harder and harder to get people into jobs that are skilled and are capable of doing it. So if you have something like this that gives them some hand-holding and some instructions and some videos, pictures, and a list of things that's all available just by clicking, that really makes a difference. Okay, as I mentioned already, it is fully integrated with QC Calc Real-Time. So the QC Gauge product for all the hand tools can have QC Calc Real-Time sitting right next to it, or it can have it someplace else and collect the data, but it's totally integrated. The data winds up in the same database. Oh, by the way, you can also do something else with these two products. Suppose you measure 4 characteristics on a part at the machine with a caliper or micrometer, and then at the next operation, when it's finished, it goes and sits on a CMM and it does 12 other characteristics. How do you do that? Well, these two products have a feature called multi-source that allow you to bring the data from a hand measuring station and a CMM, merge them together under one part number seamlessly. Oh, and it's not just one and one. We have customers that have 4 different CMMs or 6 different CMMs, and all the data merges from different operations along the line. Very easy to do, very automated. Okay. Here's a list of a lot of hand gauges we support. Okay. Also, we're getting requests from customers over the last few years about collecting data from other devices, things other than measuring tools, because they wanted to be able to correlate their measurement data with machine data. So a product we developed was QC PLC. So right now we can enter another piece of software into the mix which sends data to the same database, but it's pulling data from PLCs. It supports all the major brands, the Allen Bradley, the Siemens, the GE Fanuc, Modbus. And then there's another common communication you may or may not be familiar with, used in PLCs called OPC UA. And that communication is kind of a standard language between many PLCs and the outside world. So that data can be pulled in. We have customers in the injection molding business sampling with QC PLC temperatures and pressures on the injection molding machines in different zones, capturing that data and showing it on the same chart with the measurements that were made during that time. And they have the ability to correlate. This temperature went high, and look at what happened to that characteristic. It went low. Those kinds of things. Very, very powerful stuff. So it's available. It's there. Okay. What if you need to share, if you need to talk about this to somebody, and you need to explain to them, how does this really, you start talking about the exciting things that Gene Van Patten talked about, and you say, wait a minute, I don't understand what you're talking about. Well, okay, it all starts with a database, on a SQL Server database on a server somewhere. And it has a couple basic products on it, the ERS product and the QC Mobile product. And of course, there's a SQL Server database there. And then the administrator, he's going to have ERS and QC Calc SPC for reporting and Buddy for reporting. And then you start laying out the data collection stations, whether it's a CMM or whether it's hand tools or more hand tools or another CMM. And they just get connected to the server. That's how it works. And then you give some other connections, and I've got 3 big screens showing there that you could have a status for the department on big screens that are automatically there. And your plant manager or your production manager could have that data accessible to them on their phone or otherwise. And then, of course, other engineers just might need to do some reporting, and so those other products. That's what a layout would look like. Okay? Now, what if you're in a large company, you've got multiple locations, and you want to have, you know, this is great, we've got all the data in one place where now I can have visualization of it the way I want. What if I got multiple plants and I want it to be the same across those? Well, we actually have the ability, I've got, you know, a little image here that kind of looks like multiple plants all going to a headquarters or something like that. The product is Enterprise Data Loader, and it allows you to achieve consolidation and archiving of data. There's 2 purposes that it's used for: rolling data up into a common centralized database, or creating archive databases for your 3 or 5-year-old data so that it's not clogging up your existing database. We have a company in the United States that's currently doing this with 34 plants to their headquarters. So this is pretty cool stuff, because that then gives them on a central basis to look at. One of the things that they do, for example, this might be a point of interest, is that they will compare the capability on similar products at a given plant and see how capable plant A is versus plant B is on that similar product, and that will determine who gets the next new job. Because they know that company, that plant is more capable than the other one to do that. So they're able to better match the products that are deployed. Okay. Wouldn't it be nice to see the software in action? So I'm here. We've got, as you've seen, the screens with the charts installed on virtually all the machines. We're collecting data from the measuring machines here. We're collecting data from the Zoller tool presetter back there. In the conference room over here, we have a couple of stations where we can show you this and show you more details if you'd like to see it about these visualization tools that we've talked about. Are there any questions? I don't know if that's good.
Is this one package that does all?
I'm sorry?
Is this just one software package? Is it a modular based?
It's a modular based one. And that's actually an important point, because that means you don't have to buy more than you really need in a given location. And the pricing is very competitive from that perspective. And it allows you to only give the capability and have the overhead that you need in one place.
If you had a measurement station,
I'm sorry.
if you had a measurement station and it was old school vernier caliper, and someone was using that rather than a digital one, if you manually input data as well as manually.
So glad you asked that question. The gentleman's asking whether we can manually enter data instead of an electronic caliper, and the answer is yes. I actually had a bullet point on the screen that said manually. I didn't mention it, so I apologize. Yes, you can do that manually, absolutely. There's actually so much flexibility. I mean, you can even set up QC Calc real time on a CMM, and maybe there's something that the CMM can't send out, or the system measuring system can't send out, but you need to enter it in. You can teach QC Calc real time and pop up a window. When the CMM sends the data, it'll pop up and say, just enter this in, and it inserts it into that data flow going in. Okay. It's, you know, if you take a deep look, the 40 years that we've been at this shows a lot. And we're certainly anxious to answer any questions that you have and show you the product in greater detail. So, thank you.